Right now, let's talk some NBA action. And as we had the Fade the Public poll earlier, we might be looking at an NBA Finals preview. It's Donnie Rightside, it's Davis Maddock. Let's have some fun tonight in the association. Those Boston Nuggets traveling to Elevation to take on the Denver Nuggets. 10 p.m. tip-off. A favorite here at the FanDuel Sportsbook. We actually opened as a 1-point favorite to the Celtics. And now that is currently flipped over as a 1-point favorite here for the Denver Nuggets. A total of 221. Davis, what are we looking at tonight? Denver Nuggets, Boston Celtics, maybe a preview of the NBA Finals.
Definitely a potential preview. These teams have already played once, and the Denver Nuggets were the better team. They ended up winning that game. I think the Denver Nuggets, they're sort of in that unique position that a lot of these great NBA teams can be in, where the regular season, not that important. It's okay if the Denver Nuggets are not the number one seed. Right now, they would be playing the Phoenix Suns in the NBA playoffs. Now, obviously, that is not ideal. However, we have been reporting on this show about the injury to Karl Anthony Towns. We have seen a decrease in the Western Conference odds and the NBA Finals odds for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So we could see the Denver Nuggets being the 1 seed, the 2 seed. I don't think the Clippers are going to be able to get there. What I'm specifically looking for in this game, the first thing, and it'll be a pretty obvious tell in how much the Denver Nuggets care about this game, who is going to sub in for Nikola Jokic the first time that he subs out. Because if the guy who subs in for Nikola Jokic the first time is Christian Braun, Peyton Watson, or Reggie Jackson, that means that Aaron Gordon is going to be the backup center in this game, which is pretty much the telltale sign that the Denver Nuggets are really trying and that they really want to win a game. If DeAndre Jordan or Zeke Naji subs in for Nikola Jokic, that means that the Denver Nuggets are just playing their regular 9-man rotation for a regular season game. My guess, Donnie, is that this news about the injury to Karl Anthony Towns is kind of going to force the Denver Nuggets' hands. They might just want to win as many of the next 10, 11 games as possible and see if they can set themselves up for the 1 seed. After this game, they go Utah, they go Toronto, they go Miami, they go Spurs, and then they go Mavericks. They're going to be favored by an average of 7.5 points and maybe more in those games. So you get this game, maybe you rip off a 6-7 game win streak, and all of a sudden you're the favorite for the 1 seed. I'm going to guess they super go for this game. That is my guess right now.
For taking a look right here at the FanDuel Sportsbook, clicking down the stats of this basketball game, particularly not the stats on who's going to make shots, but who's betting what. We have 54% here of this money on the spread coming in for the Boston Celtics. And then the amount of spread bets, 55% on the Boston Celtics. So a pretty even split coming into the game tonight. But again, pushing those Denver Nuggets now to a -1 point favorite. It's going to be fun to watch that one play out. Also talking about another key matchup here going to take place in Dallas. That's the Miami Heat and the Dallas Mavericks. Is 7:30 Eastern tip time. This line once again opened up at 4.5. Now currently also sits at 4.5. A total coming in at 229 right now. So coming down a little bit from that graphic at 231.5. Heat Mavericks tonight. Is it going to be Kyrie? Is it going to be Luka? Is it going to be the Heat culture? What are we looking at tonight, Davis, from this matchup?
I mean, my first instinct is just to kind of bet against the Miami Heat all the time because the Miami Heat they're kind of the inverse of the Dallas Mavericks. It's definitely a bought, not built style mentality there. I honestly very rarely, I probably a handful of times in my life have I bet against Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks. The weirdest thing about the Mavericks is they've spent 3 first-round picks trying to solve their center rotation, and they still haven't really solved it. Now, they do match up pretty decently against this version of the Heat because they are pretty strong defensively on the interior. They are not nearly as good perimeter defense, but that is where the Miami Heat do most of their damage. I don't like either side of this spread all that much. I think if I was going to make a play on this game, honestly, it probably would be the over because I don't anticipate the Heat backcourt, that Tyler Hero, Josh Richardson backcourt doing a ton to be able to limit Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic offensively. And the Mavericks have been playing a little bit faster since making all of their acquisitions at center with PJ Washington there. So I don't hate the over there.
Love to get to this matchup next, 7 o'clock Eastern tilt. That's the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Indiana Pacers. Now, as we told you, big news breaking there from the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're going to be without Karl Anthony Towns for the foreseeable future. No timetable on his return. If we're looking at the opening numbers of this game, a minus 2-point favorite for the Minnesota Timberwolves. That has now completely swung over to the Indiana Pacers as a minus 2-point favorite here. A total that was at 230.5, now down to 228.5. What are we looking forward to here with the Timberwolves tonight without Karl Anthony Towns here, Davis?
You know, this is one of these spots where I feel like as a person outside of that building, like there clearly is some emotions going on inside that Timberwolves locker room right now. Like just imagine yourself, you are Rudy Gobert, you're Anthony Edwards, you're Mike Conley, you're whoever, and you're like, all right, we're the 1 seed, we're having this awesome season. Sure, maybe we're not as good on offense as we need to be, but the defense is great. And then you are staring at the locker room and you're like, well, I guess we're probably not going to be the 1 seed anymore, and we really got to dig deep, and the team is going to need the best out of me. And teams always respond to those things in a different way. Now, obviously, as handicappers, as people who are trying to wager profitably on these games, I mean, I know that the absence of Karl Anthony Towns, one, it is going to lead the Timberwolves to playing a bunch of small lineups. They're going to be playing one center lineups where Kyle Anderson is the power forward. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is going to be playing like a lot of minutes now. I guess they probably will try a little bit of a lineup where it would be McDaniels, Conley, Alexander-Walker, Reed, Edwards. Like they might go super small some here, and you can definitely get away going super small against the Pacers. I think, again, the only wager I would make here, I would not do anything on the spread just in this sample without Towns, but I would go over here. The Pacers play so fast, and if I'm right and the Timberwolves do go to that centerless lineup at all for even like 5 minutes, I think those will be some really high scoring stretches.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the Minnesota Timberwolves adjust to being without Karl Anthony Towns. We'll certainly find out a little bit of that equation tonight as they are underdogs taking on the Indiana Pacers. Let's move it forward in the Valley. We don't mean the Missouri Valley. We're talking about the Valley of the Sun. That's the Toronto Raptors and the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns opened at the FanDuel Sportsbook as a 10.5-point favorite, which is exactly where they sit currently here. A total of 232.5 at the opening number, now sitting at a 233. Phoenix Suns, Toronto Raptors in the Valley today here, Davis. What can we anticipate?
I mean, probably, honestly, a game that is not going to be at the top of any one's league pass menu tonight. I don't think anyone's really logging on. I don't think Raptors fans are that excited to watch this iteration of the team. I don't think that Suns fans, honestly, are all that enamored with what they're seeing every single night either. The Raptors they're one of the most banged up teams in the NBA right now. Scotty Barnes is out. Ochai Agbaji is now listed as questionable. Bruce Brown and Jakob Poeltl are out. So they're just playing like a very bizarre rotation of guys. I guess things to watch for. I mean, one, can Grady Dick continue to be the greatest 3-point shooter in Raptors franchise history? It's like he actually, if that guy can get to be like a C-plus defender, he's going to be in the NBA for like 15 years because he is a phenomenal shooter. On the Suns side of the ball, I mean, these are the games they absolutely have to win to stay out of that play-in muck. Like, they cannot be dropping any of these games where they are 8, 9, 10-point favorites. They right now do not have Devin Booker. Bradley Beal is on a minutes restriction. So it does kind of come down to Kevin Durant showing up to the office and getting buckets, which, like, obviously he's one of the greatest of all time at.
Yeah, anticipated starting lineup tonight for those Phoenix Suns: Bradley Beal, Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, Kevin Durant, and Yusuf Nurkic here. Not a long-term injury for Booker, but still out, still waiting to see that big three. And if they can get maybe a dozen games in together down the stretch, that would be great. But something tells me that's probably not going to happen. Let's take a look at a couple teams on back-to-backs tonight out in the Bay Area. 10 p.m. tip. That's the Chicago Bulls and the Golden State Warriors. This line opened up at the FanDuel Sportsbook as a favorite towards the Golden State Warriors at a -7 price. It's now risen currently live to -7.5. A total that opened up at 223.5 now sits at 224. Two teams on back-to-backs, both victorious. One with an easy one last night and one on the road in elevation. Is that line telling us the Golden State Warriors might be in store, Davis, for another blowout victory?
Yeah, give me the Warriors here. These are, again, actually very similar to the Suns. These are the games the Warriors absolutely cannot be messing around in. This has got to be like Curry's got to be playing 38 minutes here. We got to be going with the Draymond at center, early and often. I actually think, controversial maybe, like that they really have found something with this Klay Thompson off the bench lineup, because what it means is that Klay and Curry, really for the first time in their careers, their minutes are more separated from one another than they ever have been before. But the Podziemski Thompson lineups, with Podziemski as the ball handler, like there's actually a lot of space on the second unit. And this used to be way back in the day, and it's kind of the reason why they made so many of the trades they have. The Warriors would get killed, just killed in the non-Curry minutes. And now, over like the last month of the season, they're not winning the non-Curry minutes, but instead of being like, I mean, look, you're a Philly fan, you know what it's like to be losing the minutes when your stud player is not on the court. They are kind of hanging around now in the non-Curry minutes with the combination of Paul Podziemski and Klay Thompson. And, Moses Moody is finally like a real NBA rotation player. Kuminga is finally having his breakout season. They are, they're getting healthy. Like the Warriors, man, you can't, if you kill them, you really better make sure that they are dead, because there were a lot of people who were, Draymond gets suspended, Chris Paul breaks his hand, and everyone is writing the eulogy for the Golden State Warriors, and I think it was a little early. So I do like, I think one you could do tonight would be Warriors money line over the total, Curry over 3.5 3-pointers, Klay Thompson over, I think his prop is generally 13.5 points. I like all of those as a nice little correlated play there.
Pedigree people that wins championships. We'll see if you can catch lightning in a bottle one more time for the Golden State Warriors. About a minute to go in this segment here. Let me ask you about this game here. The San Antonio Spurs and the Sacramento Kings. The reason I'm bringing this up is you have a heavy favorite for the Kings at a -11 the price, who won yesterday in Los Angeles, now coming home in a total, the highest of the night, 237. Tired legs for the Kings, or they got more in the tank for that 237, Davis?
I mean, the Spurs defense is just like, dude, it's so bad. I mean, outside of Wembanyama, they don't really know it. And Wemby has, I want to say, a shoulder injury right now. He's listed as questionable the other night, so we just might not get him tonight, which would mean a Zach Collins, Jeremy Sochan front court there for the San Antonio Spurs. Don't think that is going to be stopping the Kings all that often.
There you go. And one more game tonight there, the Nets and the Pistons, which, again, who cares? Why? Because Ben Simmons is sitting out the rest of the year. So there go the Brooklyn Nets title hopes in 2023-2024. The Pistons, 2.5 at home, trying to fight with the Wizards as being the worst team in the NBA. Best bets on the card. I'm looking for a rebound tonight. Do I get it? You know I do. Coming up next on the Early